Can y'all guess what I'm making? I think I already told y'all yesterday, but I'm making homemade biscuits this morning. I'm going to make a lot of them because I got my small group coming. That was Haley. She's frying up all the meat for us, and I'm just making the biscuits. So let me show you how I did it. I wanted to make a lot of them, and I didn't want to have to do it in 2 different batches. So I went ahead and got my big bowl out, and I poured the whole bag of White Lily self-rising flour in the bowl. And I'm sifting the flour, and that just makes the biscuits a little bit more light and soft and fluffy. And then you just take your hand and make a little bowl-shaped well in that flour. The size of that bowl that you make inside that flour is what's going to determine how much biscuits you have. So that's why I got my big bowl out today, because I want a lot of biscuits. So I made a big bowl there. And that means I need to put extra Crisco and extra buttermilk inside the bowl. If you're just making a few biscuits, you're going to make your bowl-shaped well a little bit smaller. Maybe only use 1 little handful of Crisco and fill up that bowl with buttermilk. But today I made a lot, so I think it was 3 handfuls of Crisco, and I filled up the bigger bowl-shaped well with buttermilk. Now I'm just taking my fingers and I just broke up all that Crisco. And once you got the clumps of Crisco all broke up into little clumps, then you're going to start pulling in flour from the sides. And you just work your dough doing that, going round and round, pulling in flour from the sides, which is making your dough a little bit thicker as you go. You don't want to overwork your biscuits or they'll be tough, and it's hard to explain how you know, but when it gets to the right consistency, that's when you stop working it so that your biscuits won't be tough. And it's hard to explain the consistency that you want. Only thing I might could compare it to is if you've ever opened a can of biscuits, you know what that dough feels like? Well, you don't want it to be that tough. You want it to be softer than that, but not so liquidy that you can't handle it either. So somewhere in between. And I'll also point out that when I'm done making this, I'm going to put it out on the counter and cut my biscuits out. But the flour that's in that bowl will still be clean flour. And I'll be able to put it right back in the bag and use it for something else later. I don't know how it works, but only the flour that you want to pull in from the sides gets mixed into that buttermilk. I've always just thought that's the neatest thing. It's just magic. Now that I've got my dough to the consistency I want it, I'm just going to grab some of that clean flour and sprinkle it all over my countertop where I think the dough is going to touch. Because the biscuit dough, when you're making homemade biscuits, is still very sticky. So I'm going to get all the dough out of that flour, and you see how clean it is? Ready to go back in the bag. But not quite yet, because I'm still going to use it. See how I just sprinkled some on the top? That's so you can handle it while it's on the countertop without it sticking to your hands so bad. But right here, I'm just being careful not to overwork it, but I'm flipping it over a time or two. It helps it not to be so sticky for cutting it out, but it also makes for a good flaky biscuit. And while you're doing that, sometimes you need to reflour the surface. But then you're going to pat them out to about a 1/2 inch thick, and I like to use a biscuit cutter. You don't have to, though. And then I've got my greased pans over there. I greased those pans with some Crisco also. And I'm just cutting them out. And when I put them over on the skillet, I like for them to be touching. It makes them rise taller. The heat also makes them rise taller. That's why you want to cook your biscuits on a very high temperature. This morning I did 475, but sometimes I do 500. The very high temperature is what helps them to rise the right way also. A lot of people can't stand to make homemade biscuits the way that I just made them because of the mess. But if you have one of those countertop scrapers, it's really not that hard to clean it up. Just scrape it off the countertop into your trash can and then wipe your countertop off and you're all done. And those probably baked for 10 or 15 minutes. I took the first batch out and I'm going to use some of this. I can't believe it's not butter. Yes, I know that it is not butter. And then I got the second batch out and put the same stuff on them. They were so good, y'all. Also, not everybody's oven is the same, so sometimes it takes a little longer, sometimes it takes a little less, but go ahead and check them at 10 minutes and then again at 15. Just keep checking them until the tops of them are as brown as you like your biscuits to be. Me personally, I like a very light biscuit. I want it to just barely be done, but a lot of people like that golden brown biscuit. That's that kudzu jelly that me and Mama made the other day, and I served it to my small group this morning. This is all the delicious food that we had. We just had a wonderful day. We got a chance to do church live together and just have some good fellowship and girl time. But we also had some important things to talk about for a fundraiser that we have coming up. all the kids got to play today and have a good time as well. I'm just so thankful to be a part of this group of amazing, godly women. I love you. Stay classy.